recording, you guys. Okay,
Is that
welcome
what they
to
call aura, like the Mora?
welcome to what we call Chassidus. So what? We have some wonderful participants here, and those who will review this, hopefully, and there will be people, will find an amazing content. And Shana, could you just? I think you said you did say a dedication. Is it possible for you to kind of repeat that dedication? Yeah,
it is, and I would love to. Sorry about the noise. 1 second. I am dedicating this. We are dedicating this class in honor of the aura, the force field around Israel to be protected, like an aura, a magnet, a magen. Magen means shield. Magen ha'ora.
I love it. It's a great title, Magen ha'ora. Okay, so we are creating a shield of light to encompass all of us who are here and all of us in the world, because this Torah that we're going to learn, of course, we know it is infinite. Every word we say has a ring into infinity. This isn't just normal text. Okay, and these are not normal words. So these words begin. Are either of you looking at the Hebrew text?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Okay, no, you made me sorry. Then I won't. It'll make a difference in terms of how I approach this. Jonathan, are you looking at the Hebrew text?
No, I'm looking directly into
I like to hear you, and I learn well from listening.
Good. Okay. So we are discussing, just really hope I can be really short reminder of the pasuk. God says to Moshe, "You should command the children of Israel that they should take to you olive oil, pure olive oil, which is ground in order to illuminate and to elevate and be, and which is called the Ner Tamid, the continual light Ner, which is in the temple." And as we learn this, would be nice to keep in mind that in the book of Exodus, the same book, where it talks about the building of the Mishkan, and Chazal say the Mishkan is the Mikdash. Now, the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash are deeply, Kabbalistically, in all levels, the Mishkan and the Midos and the Beis HaMikdash are images of each other. They share, and in addition to that, so here's the punchline, in the other part of Exodus, God says, "Asli Mikdash, make for me a holy place, make it for me, v'shkanti b'seicham, and my divine presence will dwell within it." And Chazal point out, our sages point out, to say "it" would be not with the suffix that's used. It says "b'chol mashe b'seichem," in all of your plural dwellings. So make for me a mikdash in all of your dwellings, all of you plural. And the Chazal interpret from that plurality that the Beis HaMikdash has to exist and does exist. We just have to become aware of it in each and every Jewish person. So the person is the Mikdash, is the Mishkan, and the Mishkan is the Mikdash. And God says there that there will be a continual light made associated with Moshe Rabbeinu, and which will be crushed in order to shine and to rise up continually. So this is the Mikdash, and this is our condition as well. So I just want to tune where we are today. And so he's going to focus tonight, or we're going to focus tonight on that part of the pasuk which says crushed in order to illuminate. Kosis lemor, like the olive oil, right, had to be crushed in order to exude its essence, which then is something that's flammable and inflames and rises up. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into. Ask me, if we're okay or not. Let me know if you need any clarification along the way. But l'chera, I'm going to read it in Hebrew and translate. And l'chera, first glance, yesh lemer, one can say, and I'll try to be better about distinguishing when I'm reading inside and when I'm just saying outside. Okay. But at first glance, one can say, the explanation of the words crushed in order to illuminate. It's through, now he goes right to the personal level. It's through nishba v'nidka, being broken and crushed, magiyam lehamoya, that a person, that's the word I'm putting in, a person, just like the olive oil, through being broken and crushed, squeezed, becomes something that reaches the level of becoming a mo'er. And he's going to say not only a light, but a mo'er, a source of light. The crushing and becoming a source of light are intrinsically related. So and this, that the Rebbe now is kind of giving over to us, this whole maymor, the Rebbe maymor is giving over to us a maymor of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Remember, this maymor, we picked this maymor because of Gimel Tammuz, the effusion of the Rebbe up above and Hamshocha down below. And he is giving this maymor in the name of his Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe. And he's notes, and this is okay. So this this was all I just said, and I brought is all brought in the maymor of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he brings it. The Rebbe says, why does the Frierdiker Rebbe bring this? And that this, they're being crushed like and broken. It allows. He brings this general sentence. Allows one or allows something, an olive oil, an olive, to become a source of life. And he says, the Rebbe says, "Ubir al zeh." That's an explanation of Shebezman HaGezerah, that in the time of the Gezerah, we're talking about Purim. We spoke about the Gezerah of Purim. At that time, specifically in that time of the decrees of Haman, Bo the Mesiras Nefesh, the Jewish people, we Jewish people came to a deepest, such a depth of Mesiras Nefesh, of totally giving over ourselves, at the highest level. In other words, he's looking at our history and the history of the Jewish people in terms of your measure of accomplishment. That's not the right word. Of the position of the Jewish people is at its highest level of total given overness to Hashem, as within the crushing of the Gezeras of Haman. Haman, remember, is Amalek. He's the head of all evil. So this Persian Gullus, I mean, I don't know any historical detail, but that's the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Rebbe are telling, this is the feel of it, because that's what the Talmud, our Torah tells it about. That at the time of Purim, we were able to makabel, take into ourselves and internalize the Torah in a way that we couldn't even at Matan Torah, because we had not been through these difficulties, the Gezeros of Haman specifically. Okay, back inside. Because the whole idea is not the right word. The whole capability we have of totally giving ourselves over to Hashem is something that's rooted in the etzem haneshama, in the essence of each and every one of our neshamas, Megillah, Shelamaylam Megillah, which is higher. Okay, this power of Mesiras Nefesh, I'm just reading now in English. The power of this English of this Mesiras Nefesh comes from the essence of the soul, which is higher than revelation. It's buried, right? So this is by the way, this whole maymor is an explanation of what it is to be a Rebbe. And we started at, if you remember this when you were first here, that Moshe Rabbeinu is mentioned specifically here. Ato, you, Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu is the primary, first in the chain. What do you say that in English? First in the chain of Roye Yisrael, ones who shepherd.
Prime mover. You're saying prime mover.
Prime mover. Okay, good. He's the prime, and here we mean first also, mover of this, of the tzaddik ador, of the righteous one of the generation. And the maymor told us that in every generation there is a tzaddik ador, and the tzaddik ador is the channel, is the last end of the channel, the end of the pipeline, so to speak, fostering and nourishing the world, and particularly the Jewish soul, with emunah. So this whole maimon is now going to move into the subject of Amunah, starting with that being crushed brings out the light, and that light is Lamayla Mihagilui, higher, deeper than any rational revelation, and it's revealed specifically by being crushed. And that level of light is a level of what we call Amunah from the essence of the soul, because he's going to talk about two different levels of Amunah. Now back inside. So with that level of Amunah is Nisgala Etzem HaNeshama, the essence of the Neshama is revealed. Havol, however, however, Mehemshech v'seder ha'adyon b'hamayim, in the way that the Frierdiker Rebbe has ordered his topics in the maimor, Shar Pirish, and he explains the Koslis Lamor on the phrase in Exodus that the olive oil is crushed in order to be an illuminary. So the Frierdiker Rebbe mentions after he mentions that. That is mentioned, after the Indian of mentioning the Raya Mehem. The Ata Tetzava, this is the pasuk, right? You should command the children of Israel that they should bring to you oil, which is Kosis Lamor. First comes the Moshe Rabbeinu, and then comes the whole ability to deal with being crushed in order to bring out a shine and a light. So here we're going to get deeper into the function of the Rebbe as the Raya Mehemna, the one who literally nourishes and feeds us this ability to come to this level of Amunah, which comes from the essence of the soul when the soul particularly is crushed. Okay? Okay, and this is a level of okay. Why it comes first the Rebbe and then the notion of being crushed to illuminate. Because that the people of Israel are believers in godliness, with a simple faith, and they don't need any proof about this. Is because of two reasons. Okay, a little lesson now in Emunah. The sages say in the Gemara, it's actually Gemara in Megillah, right, which is the story of Purim, that on Purim and through these gezeras, the decrees of Haman, Mazal Yechaze, we could see our mazel could see, and we could see our mazel. In other words, it broke through to a level which we call the mazel. And it says about that the Amunah that we felt there was because Mazalayu Choze, your mazel saw, your mazel shown to you something, what it was seeing from above. The Hanashama Shalamayla, Roya Elakus, the Neshama up above, because there's no disconnect between above and below. It's I don't know what's a good mashal for it, One mashal is a fractal. That's blind. That, if you know what a fractal is, if you have a 5-pointed something, that no matter how minuscule you carve it, it's always five facets down to subatomic particles. It's a fractal. So, in other words, allness is always in even the smallness of things, right? So, you have a part of your neshama, so to speak, that's always above, and a part down here below. And the parts above, some of them are closer, more transcendent, but certainly deeper than reason, etc. And one of the lower levels is called your mazel. And then back inside. That's one of the reasons we had Amunah is the Hanashama.
I'm sorry, Rabbi, with fractal subatomic particles that you're talking about?
Fractal, down to the lowest level of reality.
Lowest level, subatomic particles, I think what they called fractals years ago. I don't know.
Okay, fine. I don't even know if that's the lowest level anymore. My science is not up to date.
At that period of time, I'm sorry.
Okay, but the point is that the pattern at source, and I just said 5 points, that same pattern gets repeated endlessly ad infinitum, even though it's more small than it was above. So there we have.
What you're basically saying is that the tachlis for creation from above to above remains consistent no matter how large or how small.
Beautiful. Excellently said. Right. Nice to God. Okay, and that's the connectedness, so that in the time of Purim, what brought out this amuna? Our mazel saw. Now I'm back inside. Sheneshama shalamayla, that's what we were explaining, that the neshama up above, Roya sees Elokus. That's called your mazel sees. This is, and in parentheses it says, this is a riya shalamayla ma'aseichel, right? This is a seeing which is beyond seichel. Once I saw a little couplet, I guess it was, because it's only 2 lines, written in somewhere by a modern poet, and I don't remember where I saw it. And it was a woman. She writes, if seeing is believing, believing is seeing beyond. And that's exactly what we're saying. Your mazel sees lamayla mehasecha. Your mazel sees beyond. And your mazel is connected with what's going on with you down there below. And that's why we wish everyone mazel tov. You should always have a good mazel. Okay. V'zeh poel b'haneshama, and this the effect of the mazel seeing on the neshama as it's in the body, neshama shebaguf, ha'amuna be'elakus. The effect of that mazel is that we souls in bodies live with faith in God. V'oid b'yer, and now there's another explanation for this. The shoresh ha'amuna hu me'etzem haneshama. Another explanation for a Jew's emunah is not about the mazel, but about the etzem haneshama, about the essence of the Jewish soul, which is deeper, higher, closer to the deep consciousness of God than the mazel. And that's where our emunah comes from. So one seems to contradict the other, right? That's typical Torah, but we're going to reconcile. But we'll go on with this. There seems to be a deeper, there's a emunah. You want to know what causes it? It isn't the mazel. It's from someplace much higher, which is the etzem haneshama. Just that the godly soul is tied up in godliness. It's an essential connection. Essential means it doesn't depend on any cause. Not even the cause of, it was touched off by some kind of seeing that was higher than seichel. That's a cause of an effect. This level needs no cause at all, because this level
Rabbi, in order for that level to be in existence, in order to have the neshama and that level of existence, it has to be in this world. That's where the goof in our existence in the physical world is in existence. So theoretically, that non-variated, non-distinguishable point that goes from the mala to the mata wouldn't be able to be that mamash in that essence unless it was encapsulated in the physical world.
It's the other way around. It wouldn't be able to be encapsulated in the physical world if it weren't deeply rooted in his own essence in the first place.
Okay, good. So we're basically saying is the physical world is emanating from its own essence.
That's the fractal, right? It's an emanation of God's inner being, right? But we talk about it in different levels, and he gave us this vocabulary, God, in his Torah, by saying that we're created in his image. So we understand that we have intellect, heart, Chabad, Chagas. So does he. But you can't say that God is faceted. God is the ultimate simplicity, simple unity. I mean simple, with no contour whatsoever, because any contour would limit him. So where does this stuff come from? It comes from what we call essence, which is deeper than any sense of contour or differentiation, yet it's the primal, to use your expression, the primal source of all differentiation, and it is embedded within all differentiation.
Within all differentiation.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Within all differentiation, embedded within all different. But there's more here. Hopefully, we'll go into it a little bit later. There's a little bit more here.
Let's go quick. And one can say, the difference between these two explanations. Remember, explanation number one. Where does the Amuna come from? It comes from the Mazel, which is at a level above Seichel, and the Mazel sees. Explanation number two, it comes way, way deeper than that. It's rooted in the essence of God himself. So he says that the differences between these two explanations is the Amunah behanashama lobeshes beguf. The Amunah, that word faith that we can't translate faith, in the neshama, which is enclosed in the body, Habo mirias and neshama shelamayla, which comes from the seeing of the whole of the soul up above, ubebechinas makif. It's we see it, but it's not penetrating. In other words, this is like, I mean, I'm saying this now on my own. The whole maymor is based on the difference between the revelation of Sinai versus the receiving internalization of the Torah on Purim. So this is the difference between, and I'm just saying this, that Matan Torah is a kind of a makif, and I can justify it by saying, if you listen to what was said there, we couldn't contain it. Our souls flew out of our body. We weren't able to have it infused in a way that it penetrated every corpuscle and became part of our actuality until the second level, which was in Purim, where we received what we first had taken before, but didn't take it in. Okay. So that aside, the lower level of Amunah, the first level where the Mazel sees, remains a makif. The kivin shenashama shelamayla hu lamayla mehislapshus. Since the level of this Mazel, which is at the level of the neshama, which is higher than being enclosed, these are very important words, enclosed. Therefore, therefore, its effect and of that enclosement in the body, will have a similar effect. The Amunah will just be makif. Makif.
Can you explain that again, Rabbi?
I'll say it again, then I think we need to.
Explain it, yeah, because he's a little.
And Shana has her hand up, so let me just say it clearly. Yeah, two levels. We said, well, we're going to describe. One said Amunah comes from the Mazel. Two said Amunah comes from essence. And we're explaining now there's not a contradiction. There are two different levels. The level of Amunah that comes through the Mazel, it's a lower level. It's only makif. It's not penetrating. It's like Matan Torah, where our souls flew out of our bodies. It's makif. And that's as far as we've gone. So since its source is makif, this is the Mazel, its effect on us will be makif. It won't be internalized. That's what we're saying right now. Shana, you wanted to say something?
Yes. So I have a question. I understand, especially because of by the way, can you hear me? I'm using earphones. So, okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I spoke earlier. So the 17th of Tammuz is commemorating, which was yesterday, that the first luchos were broken. And I understood that the first luchos were engraved in the people. And it was like they were tzaddikim, but they had already been outside of Mitzrayim. And the second is the luchos that were destroyed, that were not destroyed, that were for Baal Tshuva. So I feel like what you're saying is making me think of that, but I don't understand exactly, like, in that construct.
I'll tell you, I think I'll give you something that you can understand. What I had it's just it's a phrase. B'makim shabal shuva oimdim. It's from Chazal. It's not from Chassidus. From somewhere in the Gemara. B'makim shabal shuva oimdim. In a place where the Baal Shuva stands, afilu, even tzaddikim gemurim, full-fledged tzaddikim can't stand. The position of the Baal Shuva is higher than the position of the tzaddik.
Right, but my question is that I learned that the first time it was engraved inside of them. It wasn't a makif.
I don't know where they learned that. Okay, I'd like to see it. because that it was this maymor and the Chassidus that I know says the opposite. That it was in the actuality that we get the simple meaning of engraved. Now you're getting a lot of background. I don't know what you can do about the back. Anyway, you can.
I'm sorry, it cut out for a second for me. Can you say the last sentence again, please?
That the notion of engraved, right? You bring up the notion of engraved, and you saw some place you think where it said that when at Mount Sinai it was engraved in us. All right.
And the difference was saying that we didn't need it to be engraved.
Okay.
Wait, 1 second. That the second one, the reason what they got instead of engravement inside of them was Agada, Midrash, and all the other levels, which instead of being engraved inside would be like a halacha around, like all the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? The makif.
I know exactly what you're saying. Now, this is just like we're whirling inside a case of one thing which seems to contradict the other, right? Where did the Muna come from? Did it come from the mazel, or is it part of the essence, right? So you have raised something that's one that needs what you're saying is true. The word is engraved, but I would like to see the source that says what you said, because and this is where I was going to start. And I said I would just like to see the source from where we took it, because in the Chumash, when we learn
it's also Herut, to engrave. Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
The luchos are the first luchos have a virtue. The first, and what's the virtue? That they were engraved by the hand of God. In other words, fashioned by the hand of God, as well as spoken by the hand of God. And this advantage, the Chazal tell us, has repercussions like everything up above. So this had to do with the relationship between the first temple and the second temple. The first temple has a mila, an advantage over the second temple. The second temple was missing certain things which were in it, and I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so the first luchos had a very big advantage in that they were engraved by the hand of God. The second, at first glance, has a disadvantage because it was engraved by the hand of man. Moshe Rabbeinu engraved it. And now this is the case of the disadvantage is an advantage. The crushing becomes an advantage. The open revelation of Har Sinai, where the expression was the tablets which were engraved by God, right? In the context of what we're learning here, our makif. We didn't makabel it. There's a whole maymor of not this, but almost every maymor that come. This is all sourced in the Alter Rebbe, and the original maymor on Purim makes the very same point, that what we were this, and it's from an open pasuk in the Megillah, that on Purim they makabel, they received, they took into themselves what they only had heard and seen, and extraordinarily their souls flew out of their body at Mount Sinai, which is a makif. So just the reverse of what you're saying. You hear me?
Yeah, Rabbi, may I ask
Wait a minute, no.
Yes.
I want
Okay.
I want to hear this.
Yes, I hear you, but I think I need to digest and process it now.
Process it now, and if you can let me see, if you can, the place where the way at least you're saying it says the opposite. Okay.
It was I think it was an article. Maybe it was sort of like a rabbit hole thing. I clicked on one thing and then another thing and then another thing. But I was trying to understand the difference, like between the two. I might have started with a Chabad.org article.
But let's clear your mind from that. And the position we're taking here is that the first luchos engraved by God certainly had an advantage. The second were disadvantaged. Now, I didn't say another thing. And the temple, the first temple was greater than the second temple. But the first, at least I'm just paraphrasing things that I've learned in Chassidus over the years, that the first temple, that the first luchos, think about it. What did we have from it? We had the luchos. We didn't, and the Torah. We had the Torah Sheb'Ksav. And the Torah Sheb'Ksav is meant to change the world through changing our behavior. And you can't learn the behaviors from the Torah Shabbat. Where do you learn the Torah? Through the process of what's called Bira Hilchasa, clarifying the halacha that goes through the Ruach HaKodesh of the Tanoim, the Amoraim, those people who, I heard this from my teacher, and I heard this all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu, in order to Nevara explain what's the halacha. And that's the advantage of the second. Without the second luchos, we wouldn't know what to do. Because with the second luchos came the Shulchan Aruch and the Code of Jewish Law from that period. So just that's the notion we're going. The second luchos have an advantage which comes from adversity. That's the whole topic of our mind, right? The advantage of radiation that comes from light.
Okay, so for me, it means I have to like upgrade my system a little to, or my mental cognition, my perception. I have to evolve my perception a little that it's not just like, oh, tzaddikim are Baal Tshuva, like tzaddikim,
Right.
where it's ingrained in them, and Baal Tshuva, where it like permeates into them. Rather, I think you're telling me there's option C, which is that it was like a womb, and then it became like they became one with, and I guess that's the idea of like Keter, the Torah is a crown, and it's also Malchus at the same time. So that's what I say. It's kind of abstract and profound. But let me digest it. Let me process it.
Of course, I'm letting you and encouraging you to, but I just want to say something. That it's the learning of Chassidus which is going to, over time, make all of this come together. It will. That's why I love it.
I'm just, to be honest, I'm not convinced yet that the first glucose was the inside pneumonia.
Okay, good.
And they just like, why would they need all these? Why would they need to further everything? They would have just grasped it straightforward. There was no need for all the everything that came later. I'm still a little convinced of that, but I don't want to take time from the class. So that's why I said maybe I need to think about it more, and it will be revealed.
Yeah, okay, and I'm just saying you could think that. That's not what happened. Yeah, Jonathan, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. Well,
okay, well. Rabbi. Well, thank you. A couple things come to mind when you say that. First, you mentioned the mazalot, an externalization. Second, you mentioned the first and second giving of the Torah. And the interesting thing is that, from my understanding, Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us everything with the first giving of Torah. We didn't have to make any hishtadlus.
No. He gave your first part is, and the second part is incorrect, if I may. He gave us everything, and we have to do his talshalos. We were created to work.
I understand. I don't know, but let me finish. In terms of receiving the Torah, he gave us everything. When we made the avera of the egel azahav, heta egel, all right, and that was Moshe Rabbeinu broke the luchos, and he gave us the second giving. If memory serves, when he inscribed, which was it? Was it Moshe Rabbeinu that inscribed the first one, or did Moshe Rabbeinu have to lift up the luchos for Kadosh?
The first one, Moshe was the scribe. In the first one, the only difference is that Hashem fabricated them, and in the second, Moshe fabricated and scribed.
But didn't Moshe Rabbeinu also have to lift up the loopholes for the Kadosh Baruch Hu to inscribe in them?
I don't know.
The only reason why I asked that question is because, on the first time, I'm in the fasting authority. I look at the person the Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us anything. We made an avera and we fell. So the second giving of the Torah, I thought it was more of a partnership between the Kadosh Baruch Hu and man, because we have to make more hishtadlus.
It is.
Lift up to be closer to the Kadosh Baruch Hu.
That is exactly right. It's coming down a level in order so that Hashem can create a partnership with Moshe Rabbeinu. That's look at this is called Torahs Hashem and Torahs Moshe. These are two word phrases. This Torah that's in front of us, not just Chassidus, the Torah. It's the Torah of God and it's Torahs Moshe, because Moshe was the one who gave it over, right? And he began the formulation, and he got it from above, of, okay, now we're going to have 70, then it gets split into 70 elders, and then it becomes a whole world, drawing down parts of it in the process that we call the oral tradition, with the Moshe Rabbeinu, the Rebbe of each generation, and the Gadol of each generation, guiding the discussion, so to speak.
And that continues with your example
Oh,
of the stopping of the Nevi'im and the,
Yeah,
the Hakamim that we're supposed to replace the Nevi'im with the Gemara and giving us
exactly.
direction on how to interpret halacha, correct?
Yeah, that's
so now you
exactly
just brought it together. That's where the Emunah comes in.
Amunis and Sadiqim. You mean?
Yeah, yeah. Now, okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's expanding a little bit. Thank you
And
so
I'll
much
tell
for
you, now that you're
this.
getting this, the one this is the most condensed way. We're explaining Raya Mehem, the one, right, Moshe, the one who feeds
Right.
us our Amunah. That's the tzaddik of the generation. The tzaddik is the spigot for this, what do I want to say? Beyond time, beyond anything process of Hashem exuding from his essence himself.
And Amun is a nurse, a nurse,
Is
someone
a
who
nurse,
nurses.
right? Nursing.
Yeah.
That is in Bereshis Rabbah, the very first page, I think, of Bereshis Rabbah, Bereshis uses that mashal beautifully. That's a beautiful, like a nursing. He holds us close to his breast, and sometimes the Shekhinah is the nursing mother, and we are the nursling. You got it. It's a sucking from infinity. That's what Amunah is. And as such, I mean, I'm coining these expressions totally based on what you guys are telling me, but it all makes sense, right? These are just,
And I hope it's okay to say something that's usually like, I know there's two men, but maybe women will listen to the class. They actually call it, like that's what drawing down means. They actually call it a let down reflex for women who breastfeed. It's called let down reflex. So it's kind of like, what is it called? Mimale, no, dilatata or something. From below draws down from above. So
right,
this
that's correct.
nursing analogy goes very far.
No,
So thank you
nursing
for
is,
your time and the segue. And I really appreciate your comments also, Jonathan. And I have a lot to think about. And I want to go find that article so I can send it to you if I find it. And maybe I totally misunderstood it as well. Maybe I drew my own conclusion. So
it's okay.
thank you.
Well, okay, thank you. Are you
Rabbi,
reading?
can you explain your analogy? I'm sorry, between the first acceptance of the Torah, the second acceptance where you have to do more shadus, the second Bet HaMikdash and the first Bet HaMikdash.
Yeah, it was very simple, and I'm not, I don't have all the detail. Yeah, in the first giving of the Torah has an advantage, that it was that the luchos were made by God. And the second temple, the first temple, has an advantage. Well, let's go from the top. The second luchos had a disadvantage, right? So we got that advantage to the first, disadvantage to the second. I just said almost really parenthetically that's also echoed in the two Bate Mikdashim. The second temple is missing. Now I don't remember if I have the number accurate. It's either 5 or 15 things that were in the first Beis HaMikdash. One of them is the menorah, and of course the luchos. They're gone. So
Rabbi, I relate that. I relate what you're saying now to the process that you mentioned at the beginning of Mahus, right? Of the Etzem. Why do I relate to that? Because as the light slowly becomes engulfed by a klipa and diminished, the strength inside builds up until eventually it bursts forth. Why do I say that by analogy? The first giving of the Torah was higher. We had a defect. The second giving of the Torah, and the light gets theoretically externally gets less and less, but the koach pnimi builds up until eventually the burst of light will be even perhaps greater than the first Bet HaMikdash. And I look at that by analogy to the galus that we're in. The structure of the first temple, second temple, the elongated process until eventually the light of the Mashiach is not the Shem Ben They know on the third Bet HaMikdash will show that light bursts forth with incredible. And again, that's the question of the olive oil, the example you gave before when you crush the olive oil. The light becomes even brighter until it bursts forth. I'm sorry. Sorry for the parenthetical.
Well, don't be sorry. You got all that right.
Okay.
You're right on, spot on. They don't call you brain for nothing.
I don't know if it's a brain or not. I'm not stopping my ego. Oh, it's Shayna off now?
It's a little combination. Shayna's
Is Shayna off?
But we're all a little combination. No, she's here.
Okay.
We're all a combination of brain and ego.
No, you mentioned it was because I had a headmaster in prep school that talked about how the structure of
We're-
a ceiling, you could speak into the room and only one person at the end of the room would hear it. And one of our generals, I'm not going to say who, was pretty high up, said, you're not going to find people that were in our agencies that are going to want to talk about that. and this was in
All right, let's go.
74.
Let's
So
go.
I
through.
won't talk about that.
We got 5 minutes to go
Okay.
further. Okay. Okay. Where was it? Where was it? Okay, where were we?
You're talking about the Beth Hamikdash, the second, the Luchos,
No, I was talking
the
to you about
Hiros.
the Beis Hamikdash, but
Oh,
it's
no,
not
also for the
mentioned.
Shena.
It's
The
not
Shena
mentioned
before,
in
you talk about the difference.
The last thing you said was about the market, and
the
that's where I
market.
finally got the courage to ask about how you
Uh-huh.
said there's like a market, and then
I got it.
you were,
I got
and then Jonathan asked you on that, and then I asked also about you got it? Okay.
I
This is a
almost
great
have
shir,
it.
Rabbi. I love this
I
shir.
almost have it. Okay.
Yeah, this is a
I think
special edition.
you bet it is. It's great. The Indian is this. Does that Shahamuna, I may have said this, but we'll see. Does that Shahamuna Israel who ba'oifen shehum moiser nafshe al zeh? No, I hadn't said this before. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's just repeat the two types of emuna. One, the emuna that comes from the mazel, which is lower level, which is just a makif, right? And then the emuna which comes from etzem, which is it's internalized. Okay. The idea is this: the shemuna, that the emuna of the Jewish people, he ba'oifen shehu meiser nafshe al zeh. What is mesiras nefesh? Simply, you give over, literally, your soul for this. You give your life over. That's the ultimate mesiras nefesh. But Chassidus, of course, teaches that you don't have to physically die, but the portions of you die, and those are the portions that are attached to the klippa and the sitra achra. And in dying, make room for more light. Okay, so the emunah of the Jewish people is a manner that they give over themselves to Hashem in some way or other. And that we are able to do that, he says, that is at root in the emunah which comes from the essence of the soul, that we are willing to give ourselves away to become zero again. Into the, drawn into the essence of Hashem, where we have no individuality, no sense of anything. Okay, whatever you want to say. Okay, so but that level of willing, totally given over, willing to give ourselves over, is rooted in the essence of the soul. The amuna mitzad zeh, because this amuna, the amuna which comes from this, shuroya mazle, which is the lower level, hagam shehi b'toikif gadol, even though it's very strong. Yeah, since it's because it exists because of a cause, there had to be a cause, which is the mazel, to create the effect, which is the emunah. This cause and effect world is a lower world. In essence, there's no cause and effect. There's no up and down. There's no right and left. There's no conscription or description of anything. Right? So, and that's the level of Etzem and Neshama. So without a doubt, Etzem and Neshama is embedded, it's in the essence, or close to, embedded in the essence of God himself, much deeper. And in that world, there is no cause and effect. Whereas, so therefore it's deeper, it's a higher level, where the mazel is the cause of an effect that you feel that you want to give yourself over. Because the Gemara says, why do you do it? Because your mazel sees, because. And cause is wherever there's a siba, a cause, and in fact, you're already talking about relatively external levels of reality, as opposed to the deeper levels. Okay. Besides, okay. So Sivan Shamuna Shalei whom because of cause, since the amuna that you're having is because of a cause, and what's the cause? That your mazel sees, that's the cause. And this amuna, therefore, is not tied to the essence of who you are, but you have to see something. So therefore, it's not a positive must. It's not mukhrach. It's not a force that you're going to give yourself over. And this that we see, that a Jew will give his entire self over. It's because the faith in godliness, is his essence, not even of his essence. Emunah is the essence of a Jew. It's a big thing to say. And therefore, therefore, it's impossible to deny it. So I'm just thinking to myself, what would it be like, to live like that, right? That you're at least more rather than less in touch with the essence of your neshama, not anything that's been done to it or put over it, even by God himself, and knowing that at the same time that I'm here, extant, God has put me here to bring out the light in the darkness. And, well, how can I do that? Because I'm intrinsically, I'm using I as us, right? What we're saying here is we are intrinsically full of the essence of God. And if we knew how to, tap it, connect with it, live it, life would be very different. It's 9:31. Okay, I'm going to stop this. I think we're in a turning point if we can remember next week. Okay, then what else do we want to say about this? Because this is really turning into, at the moment at least, a maymor on Emunah. Okay? Listen, I thank you guys very much. I enjoyed this immensely.
Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you, Shana. This was a great, great discourse. Thank you. A great share.
Okay,
And
we'll
thank
see
you for your
guys
comment, Shana.
soon.
Thank you. And my bechane for me that I feel I got inspired
thank-
practically is, if that's okay, really fast.
Please,
Is I just lost it. I got to that basically when it comes to categorizing things into A, perfect, or B, like basically tzaddikim, or the first version versus 2.0, which is like, oh, it's
Right.
not like the original. I'm gonna start thinking that there could be something beyond that category system,
Beautiful.
like checking if
Right.
maybe there's
Beautiful.
a
Yeah,
bigger umbrella even. Okay.
A bigger
beautiful.
picture, a teleological view, as the rabbi would say.
Beautiful. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Shavua tov.